Today, we're ranking the top 60 wide receivers for 2025 fantasy football, placing them into tiers, helping you for your drafts and draft strategies. Before we begin, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're ranking the players, we're covering draft strategies, we're going to help you set your lineups, and we're going to help you find those gems off the waiver wire. Click that button right now. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair. But what you're seeing here is the tier list. The names, the players are pixelated, and we're going to cover them one by one. And the first player in the S tier is Justin Jefferson. Year in, year out, he's the stud wide receiver. Last year, 18.7 points per game. I'm not too worried about the injury. I'm not too worried about the rookie quarterback. Some people are, but I'm looking for him to have a big season. Next, we're going to be looking at Jamar Chase. He could be your wide receiver one. I'm flipping between the two wide receivers. 23.7 points per game last season. He's explosive. They're going to air raid it out to him. 10.3 targets a game. It's hard to beat that. He runs a lot of routes. He's never leaving the field. He's very safe. The only thing you got to worry about is injury, and that's with every player in the league. Pick your poison of what you want out of this tier. I like them both. They're both in the stud tier. I will flip and flop between both those wide receivers. So don't think they're 1 and 2. Look at them both as stud tier wide receivers. Come down the board next, we're looking at tier A, and we're going to start things off with CeeDee Lamb. You could make the case he's an S tier wide receiver. However, he does not pack the same gusto per game as the top two wide receivers on the board, but Lamb, averaging 17.7 points per game, is roughly steady with very little low-end weeks. Only 2 of them last year below 10 PPR fantasy points, rocking 10 targets per game, and he's getting a lot of workload in this offense with an elite target share pushing 30%, good amount of air yards per game at almost 80, and he's rocking a lot of volume with all those targets. Next, we're looking at Malik Neighbors. He might be just ramping up. He might do more this season as the quality play from quarterback is increasing from Russell Wilson from what we're seeing in training camp. He's been killing it in training camp. 18.2 points per game, 11.3 targets per game. This is a generational talent wide receiver. You saw it last year running on almost all the routes, leading the league in target share at almost 35%. He is good to go. Then coming off the board here, Puka Nacua. When he's healthy, he's gold. There's very little bottom out weeks with Puka Nacua. Upside for days too. Hit 41.8 points last year, 18.8 points per game. Rocking at almost 10 targets a game, even with Devontae Adams there. Matthew Stafford's going to be back. Not worried about that. And even so, he's so talented, he's going to get enough workload to allow him to be productive at almost a 30% target share last year. That is a lot of work. And yards per route ran, number 1 among wide receivers. He's very efficient. Now we're going to take a look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're looking at a wide receiver who's very steady with a lot of upside. 18.7 points per game last year, 8.4 targets per game last year as well. He's good year to year, week to week, and he's run a lot of routes, getting a lot of work with the Detroit Lions. That's why he's always getting drafted in the first round. And coming down the board right now, Nico Collins. If he played a full season last year, he'd be higher in ADP. 17.6 points per game though. Rocking it very steady, getting those deep balls downfield. Nico Collins could be the surprise play this year, considering he was trending pretty good last year, and he had a good 8 out of 10.9, almost a 25% target share. He's going to be the man in the offense again. Now we're going to take a look at A.J. Brown. He's banged up right now. We got to see what's going to happen in the start of the season, but when he's healthy, when he's on the field, one of the best wide receivers in all of football, 16.7 points per game, 7.5 targets per game. Look for him to be back sooner than later, but we are getting an elite target share at almost 35%. If the passing volume increases for the Eagles, he's going to give you elite production and that ADOTs in double digits at 12, which is something you want to rock with when you're looking at wide receivers getting this much workload. Tier A is not too far off from S tier. There's a lot of talent here, a lot of upside. Some of these guys can make the case for S tier, but they're down there for their reasons. But coming back to the board here, looking at B tier, we got a lot of talent. And starting off this tier, Drake London. He's been mossing everybody in training camp. Last year, 16.5 points per game. Getting a good rapport with Michael Penix is going to be huge, but it looks like that's ramping up. 9.4 targets per game. The workload's always there. An elite target share, 6th among wide receivers, a good ADOT in the double digits. He's going to make plays downfield, and he's going to get a lot of workload. Then we're looking at Devontae Adams. I look for him to cook with Matthew Stafford. I look for him to be putting up big numbers week in and week out. He's explosive. He's been commanding target share, especially with the Jets last year. Double digits with Aaron Rodgers. I think that's going to continue. I think he's going to be very explosive with his offense. I think the target share is going to be up there. 25%-ish, maybe a little higher, a little bit lower, but he's been consistent. He was efficient versus man last year. He still got the goods to his game. Coming next off the board, Ladd McConkey. Injuries to the offensive line for the Chargers got people worried, but Ladd McConkey had a good ramp up last season, splashed hard from week 11 to week 18. Very consistent wide receiver. He was hurt in camp, but he's back. He's very fast. He's very explosive, good route runner. He's going to be a key staple to this offense. He runs a lot of routes. He gets a lot of opportunity. Also a 25% target share as a rookie. That's a good number for a guy his age. That being said, there's room for growth here. Now we're going to take a look at Brian Thomas Jr. He's got a lot of upside with that 4.3 speed, nasty release, and on top of that, he can get on the heels of the safeties rather quick. After the ramp up, week 13 to 18, he was nasty, one of the top wide receivers in the league, getting double-digit targets every game. It could be him and Hunter week in and week out for the rest of our lives. 25.5% target share and ADOT in the double digits. That's something you want to chase with a wide receiver when it comes to workload. Next, we're going to take a look at T. Higgins. When he's healthy on the field, he's one of the best wide receivers in the league when it comes to production. Steady wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 weeks. Very little bottom out games. He was hurt a lot last year, so you're going to catch a discount with that, but he's paid. He's happy. 18.7 points per game. They're going to have to air it out. He's a safe wide receiver as long as he's on the field. His target share is good. He's getting a lot of work. He's running a lot of routes. He ain't going to leave the field running almost 40 routes per game. T. Higgins at his ADP is a good smash option. And finally for Tier B, Tyreek Hill. Dealing with injuries with him and other players last year, Tyreek Hill had an interesting season. Can we bounce back? We have the talent to do so. We have the speed to do so. As we see here with the numbers, 12.8 points per game, 7.1 targets per game. We're nasty against man. We're being efficient. We're still able to win on the field, even though we were banged up last year because that speed ain't going away yet. Tier B is a very talented tier. You got a lot of upside in this tier. You got a lot of talent that could usurp some of the guys in Tier A, maybe even Tier S. And if you're stacking wide receivers from each tier here down your draft, you're going to have a studly wide receiver depth chart. But going back here, and we're going to be taking a look at Tier C. Tier C, another good batch of wide receivers here. Starting things off with Xavier Worthy. He's going to take a massive step forward this season, especially if Rashee Rice gets suspended somewhere down the line. But he's in year 2. He ramped up last year. He's shown some signs of life to where he could take a massive step forward, especially in training camp. At ADP at cost, he's a good value. He gets you yak. He gets you a lot of red zone work because they want to utilize that 4.2 speed. Next off the board here for Tier C, Rashee Rice. He's a very interesting player this year because he's a wide receiver that's going to be consistent, that's going to be scoring good in fantasy, but you do not know what the suspension is going to look like if you get one or how long it's going to be. But when he's on the field, he's a league winner. He's a week winner for you in fantasy football. And honestly, if it wasn't for the suspension, he'd be easily in Tier A. And he'll probably give you S-tier results week in and week out with this team because he's efficient, getting a 25.7% target share. And he's been leveling up every single year with Patrick Mahomes. Then coming down here, Marvin Harrison Jr. He was overdrafted last year due to the name cachet, due to him being a generational talent in the first round, but had a good rookie season at 11.7 points per game, commanding 7 targets per game. So we could see him ramp up this year. 2 wide receiver 1 weeks, a slew of wide receiver 2 games, a good target share. We were winning against man, but the targets was not catchable. So if Kyler Murray can get better, also it looks like Marv is leveling up. He's thicker, bigger, stronger at the catch point. Now we're going to take a look at Courtland Sutton. I'm high on Courtland Sutton. He's getting the targets downfield. He's getting the workload. He's steady. He's a good playmaker. He got paid. And Bo Nix is leveling up as well. So I look for him to give you good results week in and week out this year. And that ADOT is juicy because that means there's upside potential on top of him getting so much workload that you got a good floor with him. Then it's DJ Moore. He's going to get all the targets in this offense like he does every single year. Williams is going to look his way. He's going to be a dependable wide receiver. There might be some volatility due to Williams, but all in all, he's going to be out there on all the routes like he was last year. And now we're not going to forget about Mike Evans. When he's healthy, he's a boom-bust candidate in fantasy football, but the boom weeks are actually booming 20-plus points every time he hits, and he could hit in the 30 range. And we got Godwin out, and he's got the report of Baker Mayfield. I think it's going to start the season going off. If we can last a full season, Mike Evans is going to be a huge discount for your team. He gets a lot of work in the red zone. He gets a lot of deep shots downfield. Target shares up there. So with a heavy ADOT and a lot of work rate, Mike Evans is a player whenever he's on the field has the potential to cash for you on any given Sunday. And then we're going to take a look at Garrett Wilson. He's going to look good in points per game, but might be volatile throughout the season as Justin Fields is his quarterback. They're probably not going to throw it more than 25 times per game. They're going to run the ball a lot, but he's going to cash in some of these games as well, as he's going to have a good 25% target share or more, getting a lot of work, running a lot of routes. That work could look like 6 to 7 to 9 targets a game. I don't see him hitting double digit too many times when it comes to targets. He had one game last year where he got 22 targets. Most of the time, he was around 6 to 9. In that range. I look for him to be around that range, considering they're going to control the pass attempts, but the target share is going to be around 25%, 26, 27, 24. That's what I mean by that. We're going to run a lot of routes. We're going to get almost all the targets in this offense. There's not much competition there for him to lose targets too. Tier C is still very studly. You can really moneyball these tiers, stacking up running backs and wide receivers. If you went here or B early, you can still get some good wide receivers a few rounds later and still be rocking and rolling in your drafts. But coming back to the board here, tier D, and when we got some good players, starting off with Jackson Smith-Njigba. I look for him to get a lot of work this year. I look for him to get a lot of opportunities, but new quarterback play, a lot of changes here could create some volatility for him in season, but he's going to run a lot of routes. He's going to get opportunities, and at that price, I think he's going to be a great bet for you. Then it's going to be Terry McLaurin. We got to see if he gets signed. I bet they get the deal done. They're still on a rookie quarterback contract there. He is a good play and a good fit for Jaden Daniels. Deep downfield, good air yards, almost 16 points per game. Target share almost up to 25%, but the ADOT at 13.3. That means he can cash big on any given Sunday. Coming off the board next, T-Mac. Look for him to get a lot of work this season. Had 5 targets in his last preseason game. Look for him to lead the team in targets, get around a 20 to 25% target share. There will be a rookie ramp up. It will be anticlimactic the first few weeks of the season probably, but somewhere down the line, he's going to explode. The competition in this offense at wide receiver is better than expected than on paper, but still, T-Mac levels out the competition here. He's going to be their AJ Green. One of my favorite upside wide receivers, Jameson Williams. I love his upside. I love J-Mo, and he can splash big for you on any given Sunday. He's great for best ball, but he's also great for throwing in those lineups, closing your eyes, see what happens. And the downside's not too bad. Not too many down games last year when you consider like he could splash hard on any given Sunday due to that speed. And you're looking at the target share, almost 20%. That could increase a little bit this year, but the ADOT, and that could increase too because all it takes is a few deep shots, and he's scoring big. Next up, Devonta Smith. A.J. Brown's dealing with an injury. Devonta Smith racks up targets, and he's a good wide receiver. 15.3 points per game last season, and elite target share as well. He's a key staple of this offense. He's actually getting wide receiver 1 target share. Now we're looking at George Pickens. Same face, new team, upside city though with the Dallas Cowboys. I expect him to be volatile like this though. I expect him to have some games where he blows the roof off in fantasy football and other games where you don't know if you should start him or not. But I look for him to get 7-ish targets a game. I look for him to be 5+ targets easy a game, pushing around 7, 8, something like that on average throughout the season. It's really going to be game script dependent, and it's really going to be dependent on what CeeDee Lamb does, and if they can connect with George Pickens in those games downfield, as those are harder targets to nail. But he's going to be one of the top wide receivers this year in deep ball attempts, red zone attempts. His ADOT's definitely going to be in the double digits, even though he's on a new team. And now it's DK Metcalf. He's going to suck up target share, 25-ish% target share easy, possibly pushing to 30%. Who else is going to steal targets from DK Metcalf? So I'm looking for him to at least be steady this year. Could be a surprise play, but this offense is going to run slow. Aaron Rodgers is a slow-paced quarterback, but yet efficient. The Steelers is a slow-paced offense. That may impact the pass attempts, but the ADOT's going to be up there. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 deep targets. Probably going to be one of the top wide receivers in the league. That's his game. Also getting that yak. He's going to get a lot of work this year. Tier D is very solid, but you're going to notice as we move forward in these tiers that the talent's going to start to thin out. In this area of the draft, you want to make sure you get your guy, because if not, you might be left stranded. But coming down here to Tier E, first player off the board, Jalen Waddle. The Dolphins dealt with a lot of turbulence last year. If the whole team can get right, then Jalen Waddle might be a huge value this year. He was hurt last year. Tua was hurt last year. This could be a wide receiver that's at a tremendous discount. We're watching the DBs get burnt in joint practices, so they might be in more shootouts this year. The injuries hurt them last year as well, and we could see Waddle on the comeback trails this year. Next up, Travis Hunter. Former 5-star recruit, wire to wire, just nailed it home to his the second selection in the draft. He's going to be big money for the Jaguars. He's going to be out there running a lot of routes, getting a lot of opportunity. He's an upside flyer that's safe because you know you're going to get a rookie ramp up, but you know he's going to get his moments too. Because when you look at this wide receiver depth chart, Parker Washington ain't it. Diamond Brown is a sneaky play, but not sneaky enough to usurp Travis Hunter. Then after that, what else are you going to do? Brian Thomas is going to be fine. Travis Hunter is going to be a nice pair with him. Next player we're going to be looking at, Rome Odunze. Some people are down on his rookie season last year, but he's had some encouraging numbers considering he was sharing the field with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and a rookie quarterback. 8.6 points per game, one wide receiver 1 week, but multiple games with double-digit targets. We had a good target share last year, but our ADOT 13.8. So a target share pushing 20%. Catchable target rate wasn't really there. Williams missed him a lot. So if Williams takes a little step forward as he's getting those deeper targets downfield, this could be a splash option at wide receiver. But don't forget about Ricky Pearsall. He's a twitched up wide receiver who's rapidly developing. He's looking good in training camp. There's a lot of upside here. Former first-round pick. We did not see much of him as a rookie, but he killed it in the last 2 games of the season. Brandon Ayuk's on the pup. Juwan Jennings is out there, but he really did not take over last year. He had that one big game. Demarcus Robinson is a trusted veteran, but if you're looking for someone to step up and take over, Ricky Pearsall could be a guy that's really sneaky this year. Now it's time to look at Jordan Addison. He's suspended for 3 games, but I don't really care. McCarthy's looking at him left and right out there on the field. He's going to rack up a lot of targets. This could be his season, especially if McCarthy takes a step forward. Target share at 21.4%. Justin Jefferson on the mend right now. ADOT solid at his price tag, especially if you catch that suspension discount. And we're going to take another look at Jacoby Myers. He's always just steady and always just cheap in fantasy football, but he's always giving you a good return on your investment. 14.5 points per game last year. Might be something similar this year. And he's running a lot of routes, getting a lot of opportunity. There's some new faces here, but still nothing there really to usurp him right now. Just a steady, trusted veteran in this offense. Then coming off the board here, Zay Flowers. He's the wide receiver 1 for this team. Also, the handcuff for Derrick Henry, because if he goes down, they're going to throw the ball a little bit more. Almost 7 targets per game, but he's kind of steady there. Even on the low games, he's hitting double-digit fantasy points. He also has the upside because if the Ravens throw the ball, they're going to be looking his way because he's got a good target share and a good ADOT as well. So there's some upside here with Zay Flowers. And he's building a good rapport with his new quarterback here, Calvin Ridley. He's a good wide receiver. He's got a new quarterback that's locked in on him. We might see the targets ramp up. The ADOT's always up there. 15.7 last year. He's going to get deep targets again. He's going to be rocking around a 25% target share. He's going to be getting the volume to push his fantasy production. If we can hit on that, this is going to be a good play for you. Tier E is a good money ball tier with a lot of good depth for your lineup, especially at the wide receiver position. If you hammer home the wide receiver position earlier in your drafts and you slam some running backs in the top part of the dead zone, you can come away with some of these wide receivers to help you out to fill out your wide receiver depth chart. But coming back here to the board, looking at Tier F, first player coming off, Jerry Jeudy. He's a good wide receiver, but the quarterbacks are not so good. Flacco might be able to fuel him a little bit more. They still got to throw the football. They'll probably throw it for more than 100 yards a game. So if someone's going to catch the ball and make some plays happen, Jerry Jeudy might be a sneaky option in drafts. He might get you a good wide receiver to production. Might be a little bit volatile since this team's going to be volatile. I don't think you can argue that considering what you're seeing here at the quarterback picture here for the Cleveland Browns. Next, we're going to be looking at Deebo Samuel. He's a veteran wide receiver. He's dealt with injuries, but with a new team that can push the ball downfield, he could be a surprise play this year. Considering what we're seeing with Terry McLaurin, he could end up this team's wide receiver 1. It's up in the air. It's hard to gamble on it considering what we've seen out of him recently, but also at the price of that, could be a sneaky option. Remember, it was injury after injury after injury. At least it felt that way. But now we're back healthy. We're building a rapport. We're out there in training camp. Deebo Samuel could be your sneaky play. Next coming off the board, though, Chris Olave. He's a good wide receiver, but he's been in and out of the lineup, and now we got rocky quarterback play coming our way with Shuck and Rattler, so we got to see how that goes. But we're back from the concussions. We've been making plays in training camp. We might have a good bounce back year here in 2025. He's still cheap on a discount. And now we're going to take a look at Stephon Diggs. He's making plays in training camp. Drake May's looking his way, and he could be another cheap get for you at wide receiver. He transitioned well to the Texans before tearing out his ACL, but Stephon Diggs is a hell of a talent. He's on the back nine of his career, but still getting it done. He's going to help this wide receiver depth chart, might help yours. I look for him to get a good target share, maybe rocking around 25% or 20 to 25%, getting a lot of working opportunity in this offense. And now coming up, Juwan Jennings. He's a volatile wide receiver. I can definitely see Kittle commanding a lot of targets, Ricky Pearsall stepping up, Christian McCaffrey getting a ton of work, and him giving you some upside weeks, because when you look at Jennings' target share, it's almost elite. He runs a lot of routes. He's going to be out there on the field, so there will be opportunities there for Jennings, but he's also very volatile and risky. But don't forget about this riser, Matthew Golden. You're looking at the wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers. He's going to step up and take over after the rookie ramp up the first few weeks of the season, but he's going to be a big time playmaker for the Packers. He's looking good in training camp. He's breaking off routes. He's looking solid. And Josh Downs is now coming off the board. Very good wide receiver when healthy. Actually came out of practice the other day. We're watching him, but Downs can hit big on any given Sunday when he's in the lineup. That's what I like about Josh Downs. He also commands a good target share, has a lot of upside, can also be very consistent. Quarterback play is also an issue. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get from week to week. And Emeka Egbuka, there's a lot of upside with Emeka Egbuka here. He's in a good offense that pushes the ball downfield. This could be a wide receiver that gets more opportunities than expected, considering the veteran wide receivers are in and out of the lineup. Tier F's got some talent here. This tier is very solid. There's a lot of upside in this range. It's starting to thin out a little bit more, but we still got some more wide receivers to look at. Coming down to the board here, we got Tier G, and the first wide receiver here, Khalil Shakur. He's a steady option in the Bills offense, 12.2 points per game last year. He will rack up targets, might be a little bit volatile, but he's also cheap in fantasy. Next up to look at, Jaden Reed. He's in a boot right now, but he'll eventually be back. He'll be commanding the slot for the Packers. He'll get some opportunities. Golden stepping up. I look for him to be volatile in fantasy football this year. And the upside play of the year, Luther Burden. This is the upside play that could go off. This could be the sneaky wide receiver that ends up a top 10 wide receiver in the league for years on out. I'm looking at Luther Burden here. He's been scorched in training camp. He could be a transcendent option for the Bears. However, the downside is he's going to be sharing targets. A wide receiver you may not want to forget about, Michael Pittman. Played with a hurt back last year. Has the talent. Showed it on the field. Quarterback play sketchy. 10.5 points per game. He's cheap. Everybody's scared away from him. I understand. That's why he's where he's at in the rankings. And another wide receiver that might be on the comeback this year, Chris Godwin. When he comes back, he's going to be on the field. He's going to be commanding targets. He's still a talented wide receiver. That's why they brought him back. Godwin still has a lot of upside. He still needs to be a wide receiver that you need to pay attention to. And now we're going to be looking at Darnell Mooney. He's a volatile wide receiver too with a lot of upside on any given Sunday. The Falcons are in a lot of shootouts. He's pushing a 20% target share on any given Sunday. He racks up targets on some games. And 12.1 points per game is good for where you're getting him at in drafts. And for straight up upside, Jaden Higgins. He's an upside rookie that may not pan out for you, but I'm paying attention to him throughout the season. Watch for him. You might be picking him up off the waiver wire. Tier G is very solid. There's a lot of talent here to look at. It's deep in this range. However, it could be rather sketchy as some of these guys got their upside, but also some of these guys got their situation, whether they're a rookie or they're coming back from an injury, that you need to be aware of. But coming back to the board, you're looking at Tier H. It's much of the same here. Cooper Kupp, come on down. Same face, new team, new situation. He might hit for you. But again, injuries have been baked in there throughout the years. Older wide receiver, different quarterback play, could be a slower paced offense. All could impact his production. But if you're looking for a dependable veteran on the cheap, here you go. Next up, Keon Coleman. He's an upside dandy. He could give you that Gabe Davis effect where he gives you 5 wide receiver 1 weeks and a bunch of nada throughout the season where you don't know where to start him. Might be great for best ball and daily fantasy football. Might be a headache setting lineups with. Also going into year 2. And he could strike gold. He's been looking good in training camp, but I look for him to be hella volatile. Now we're looking at Rashid Shaheed. Quarterback play is going to be very interesting as Shaheed's coming back from the injury. He's looking good in training camp. Always gets a good average depth of target. Always gets the bombs downfield. Could splash for you a few times this season. I look for the quarterbacks to be a major factor for the Saints. And now we're going to take another look at Rashad Bateman. He's got that Will Fuller effect where he can splash on any given Sunday. He gets a lot of deep targets downfield. He cashes on a lot of Sundays, but he's also very volatile. He's either like a high-end wide receiver 2 or a top-tier wide receiver 1 or nothing for you. That's the thing about Rashad Bateman, but he's a very talented wide receiver. He's just used weirdly in this offense, and this offense does not throw the ball a lot. Coming off the board, Brandon Ayuk. He's going to be on the pup. He's very talented. He'll be back in the offense, back 9 of the season. So you're going to have to hoard him for a lot of the season and draft him with decent draft capital. But the upside's there. Got a good rapport. Could finish out the year as a guy that gets you over the hump to finish out your season into the fantasy playoffs. And finally, Hollywood Brown. Rashee Rice could be suspended and Marquise Hollywood Brown could step up with a major role. On top of that, he could be streaky with some good volatility because he's a good wide receiver with a good rapport with Patrick Mahomes. He's cheap in drafts right now, and if you want to play it safe, this is a name to go after in your double-digit round. Tier H is solid. This is a Moneyball tier. We're deep in the drafts right now. You're just picking who you like at this point of the draft, taking your favorite flavor of the week, but we got one more tier. Tier I. First player off the board, Pat Bryant. I'm planting flags with this tier, and I'm taking some of the upside rookies. Pat Bryant has been killing it in training camp. I look for him to be a starter by the end of the season. Next, we're looking at Jack Betch. Betch is actually listed like 4th on the depth chart right now. I look for him to be in the slot somewhere down the line this season, getting opportunities. You don't have to draft him right now. But also, if you're looking at lottery tickets at wide receiver, there aren't many, and he's one of them that you may want to think about. Coming off the board now, Kyle Williams. Here's another lottery ticket wide receiver you need to pay attention to. He's twitched up. Somebody has to step up for the Patriots. He's got good hands, played well with Cam Ward. This is a wide receiver that could sneak up on us somewhere down the line. There's a trend here, if you haven't noticed. Marvin Mims. In preseason, he's playing as that wide receiver 2 role for the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix has been stepping up. Marvin Mims can get the deep targets downfield. He could be a splash play for you in fantasy football. Next up, Keenan Allen. He's a trusted veteran. Herbert likes him. I look for him to rack up targets. If you're looking for a safe play, Keenan Allen could be a guy to look at. And then finally for this tier, Josh Palmer. He's building a good rapport with the Bills. Beat writers are loving him. He could be another wide receiver that gets you good volatile production here that can help you out on the cheap. The final tier is an upside tier. I jumped some guys up the rankings a little bit because I want to shoot for more upside here to make sure you look at those guys. Although the roster cloggers might outscore them to start the season, the upside's immense with some of these rookies, and I want some of these rookies on the back end of my depth chart, and I want to make sure I take a good look at them. That's why I got some of those rookies bumped up. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Which wide receivers are you looking to draft? Let me know. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.